Rebellion or revolt occurred in 1831 in Southampton, Virginia. Nat was considered to be a very precocious African-American slave, and that of course meant there was problems, because anybody who's precocious and is a slave is in a lot of trouble. He felt he was divinely inspired. His life was miserable. And what he did was not necessarily the right thing. But what he did left such an indelible mark of fear and hatred in the white Southern population that it was on the tip of their thoughts. They never even spoke about it. Because to say it, almost like a traditional tribe, to say the secret name of God is to identify it and to bring it to the forefront. They didn't want to. It was over and done with. His body was mutilated, he was beheaded, he was flagellated, and he was skinned alive when they got him. And this is a poem that will hopefully allow people to explain the strains and pressures that the Nat Turner revolt placed on every plantation in the South and a lot of white people in general. It crystallized in the Civil War, because it's more than, like when we were in the curriculum, we were told to teach, this topic, Civil War, subtopic, slavery, sexualism, racism, as if it were going by the root to things that, that meant nothing to anybody. But what engendered the real history of the Civil War came a good 30 years before that, even longer. In the 1790s, Toussaint Louverture, a Haitian patriot, was able to throw back and defeat the best armies that Napoleon Bonaparte sent against him. And that sent a shudder through white racism throughout the Western Hemisphere. Because here was an example of African Americans could rise up and on their own take out the most effective fighting force in the Christian civilization. All right, let me get back to Nat Turner. So what happened was approximately 50 or so slaves rose up with him, and they proceeded from house to house, killing every white person they could find. And to put African Americans as free men, as free thinking men, even if he did the wrong thing, was the most horrendous thing that white racism had ever endured. And so they never forgot. And it engendered every thought of their daily life for generations. Generations are at 20 years, so over one generation. All right, Nat Turner. His name came to mind, worried looks, passed in silence between the overseer of the fields and the gentleman in the big house. Slowly they began to count the knives after every meal, numbering sickles, scythes, and hatchets in the tool shed before the twilight cast the southern landscape in the uncertainty of the trail. They took to questioning slaves they never took much notice of, with the feigned gentility of smiling concern, waiting for the signs of a swallowed lie. How body language enters into this. Of a swallowed lie from young girls who seemed to take too long in making up the rooms, and field hands who took ill on the same day without warning. This created a psychotic pattern of thinking, and you'd be surprised when young people are provided with that kind of, and all people are provided with that alternative way of seeing the truth, they can identify with it. And it was successful because of that. And it started doing something that was never thought of being done before.